Hey, my name's Will, and this is going to be kind of a summary of my addiction. Just kind of summed up. Obviously, I'm not going to go into too many crazy details, but I just wanted to kind of tell my story. So basically, right now I'm 22 years old. I started using narcotics, I'd say, when I was about 18 years old. Up until I started using narcotics, I had been basically strictly smoking marijuana since I was about 16, I'd say. And at first, when I first had just been smoking, I never really had a drive to try any pharmaceutical drugs. And I guess when I graduated high school, I didn't really have a plan for college. And I started hanging out with a group of people that were doing pills along the lines of benzodiazepines and opiates and opioids, muscle relaxers, things along those lines. And I guess it just kind of went downhill from there. The first narcotic I ever tried was hydrocodone. You know those as Norcos. I tried one Norco one day. It was a 10 milligram Norco, and I liked the feeling it gave me. I didn't really know what was going to happen later on. So the next day I had 2 more left, and so I took 20 milligrams of Norco the next night. And I really understood what it felt like to get a euphoria from opioids. And that didn't really start the addiction, but it definitely gave me an idea of what opioids and opiates felt like. Because at first it was really just like a once a month, maybe once every couple months type of deal. But then I started to get into the benzodiazepine class, Xanax and Klonopin and lorazepam and temazepam and chlorodaz epoxide, tiazilam, things along those lines. And I guess once I started taking Xanax, because I've always had very bad social anxiety, and I tried to see psychiatrists about it, and they would just prescribe me these drugs that didn't do anything for me. So I ended up just having people offer me things on the street, and one thing led to another, and all of a sudden I'm taking Xanax and painkillers every day of the week. At this time, I was still a functioning addict. I was about 19 at the time. I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, what I wanted to study in college, and what I really wanted to set my goals to be in life. I really wanted to get through college and, just kind of have the college experience and go through it and everything. But I'd never made it to college, and so I had a lot of free time on my hands. I still worked and I had jobs and stuff. But after a while, I just didn't really see any progress in my life. So I guess it just turned into more of waking up and trying to escape all of the pressure I felt of daily life. It was really rough, but at first it was just really partying, I guess. I live in a college town. I live about 60 miles west of Chicago, near NIU, Northern Illinois University in Illinois. So I guess once I got into the party scene a little bit, it kind of all started to change. We would all, my friends and I would go to these parties and we would smoke a lot of weed, and we would be popping pills and doing this and that. I was never a drinker, so I was more of the pill guy. I figured, why get drunk when I can just take these pills that get me drunk and I don't throw up from them? And I did that till I was about 20 and a half years old. And then things really took a turn for the worse. It got to the point where I was taking about 30 to 40 milligrams of Xanax a day. And then I was washing it down with about, I'd say 80 to 150 milligrams of hydrocodone a day. And I'm sorry that I keep pausing. I've got this really bad stutter thing going on. If I don't blink a lot, it's really hard for me to get a sentence out, especially when I'm recording myself. I just feel this word pressure. But I guess things just progressed over time, and I went from just popping pills that I could find on the street, and then I would start finding Oxy. And one of my acquaintances taught me that if I found oxycodone, which is the instant release form of Oxy, it would set on the euphoria from it a lot faster, and it would get you higher quicker. And so I started to do that for a little while, and I would be sipping lean and stuff. I would steal prescriptions of cough syrup from my parents, the promethazine and codeine cough syrup, all of the different brands, the Walk Hard and not Activist, but just stuff like that. And it just got really rough over time, and I didn't really understand that I had a problem until the beginning of, I'd say, 2017. I tried to put the Xanax down cold turkey because I didn't really understand what addiction was, because health class didn't really teach you about it too much. And I'm just trying to figure out the timeline here. It's kind of fuzzy. But yeah, I guess I was just hanging out with the wrong people and just making really bad decisions. And I didn't really know where it would put me in life. But, I was still having fun and I was still getting high and everything. But as time went on, I needed to find stronger things to keep the high going. And eventually in 2017, yeah, it's 2018 now, so I guess it was about April 2017 I tried heroin for the first time, because I was withdrawing from Oxy. And once I did that, I did heroin for the first time. I snorted it. And the next day, I realized, hey, I did a really hard drug. I probably shouldn't be doing that. Even though Oxy is just pharmaceutical heroin, we all know that. The next day I went and picked up some hydros, and I took 60 to 80 milligrams of hydro, and I didn't even get a buzz from it anymore, and I realized that I was headed for a path that I did not want to be on. But the drugs had already been shaping my brain to destroy it, and I didn't really know what to do. Where I lived, it was pretty easy for me to go out and get pretty much any kind of drug I wanted. I was still taking a lot of Xanax at the time, and once I started taking heroin and the more aggressive opiates, I had to take a lot less Xanax, or else that was just a cocktail of death. So I kind of got clean off of the benzos a little bit. I mean, I tapered myself down to the point where I was only taking like maybe a bar to 2 bars a day, which would be like 2 to 4 milligrams of Xanax a day for my social anxiety. But I didn't realize that my brain had already been I don't want to use the word fried, because that's not true. You don't really fry your brain. You basically reshape it from your routine that you had before. Like coming out of high school, you would wake up, you'd eat breakfast, you'd eat lunch, you'd have things to do during the day. And if you had a job, you would go to your job, you'd come home, you would do your thing, and you would go to bed. But everything kind of changed into this mindset of waking up and trying to figure out where to get money to get the drugs from, and finding a steady dealer with good quality stuff that I knew that I wouldn't, not new, but that I would hopefully not overdose on. I did end up overdosing 3 to 4, I want to say it was 4 times total. One of them was on oxy and 3 of them was on heroin. But it was just a really scary time in my life. So I finally decided that I really needed help. So I went to rehab for the first time in Aurora, Illinois. I went to a place called Gateway, and they helped me get clean. It was kind of a little sanctuary type deal. You can't do drugs in there. They would give you your taper drugs to get you off, and it was hell for the first 2 weeks or so, and then for the second 2 weeks it was, just kind of building yourself back up to who you were at one point. And so I got out of rehab the first time, and within 2 days of getting home from rehab, I was back on Xanax, and I was back on heroin. And 2 weeks after I had gotten out of rehab, I got a DUI, and that really affected my life. I guess I'd have to back up a few months. So in April when I had first started doing heroin, I caught a charge. I was set up by someone in the town, and they caught me with some Xanax, so I got convicted of a felony. So I am a convicted felon until 2020. I'm on first timers probation. But fast forward to the DUI. I got the DUI in September of 2017. But in August 7th of 2017, that was the overdose that I had gotten a bad batch of dope, and there was fentanyl in it, and I didn't know it, and I took a regular dose, and I flatlined, and if the paramedics hadn't have gotten there in time, I wouldn't have woken back up. I flatlined for over a minute, and they thought that I was gonna die. So by the time I got to the hospital, I was woken up and everything, and I was fine. And I was honestly woke up really, really pissed off. I don't know why. But it was just a really weird experience. And after that, literally the next day, I went and picked up the same stuff. I was just more careful with it because that's just how the drug addict, that's just how the chemicals, would affect your brain when you're on them. So I had gone to rehab the second time I went August 10th after that overdose. So I went there for another 20 days or so and got out, and I kind of just toyed around with drugs for a little while. And then I found this Suboxone doctor who saved my life. I know there's a lot of mixed reviews about Suboxone, but if you are unstable and very volatile for relapse, Suboxone can be a blessing for some people. It can be bad for some people, but for me it was a blessing. I'm now over a year clean. I had a year clean on November 17th of 2018. So thank God for that. I basically just want to make this video to tell you that if you put in the work to actually get clean, I never did the 12-step program. It wasn't for me because I couldn't get the whole higher power thing down. It just wasn't for me. So I guess I did what you would call a white knuckle. I mean, I was getting counseling, and I was seeing psychiatrists, and I was seeing an addiction specialist. So for me, that was kind of my, I guess, AA for me, or NA or CA or whatever you'd like to call it. But this doctor basically saved my life, and I now have monthly drug tests through him, and he has kept me clean for a year. And I'm so thankful that I did find him. It's not cheap to see him, but what he's done for me is beyond words. I mean, a year ago, or I guess more than a year ago now, I couldn't even make it through a sentence without nodding off. And now I'm able to work 10 to 12 hours a day like I could when I was younger, before the drugs. And life has just gotten so much better. I feel so much healthier. I exercise multiple times a day. And I guess the main thing is you really just have to take addiction one step at a time. You can't let yourself get overwhelmed. When you do get overwhelmed, the best thing to do is, just call somebody. The best thing to not let that idea of using manifest inside of your brain, and by manifest I mean let it take over your brain. You just have to call someone and talk to them, and they'll just distract you out of it. And hopefully by the time you're done talking to them, you're not distracted out of using you're distracted out of using. And I'm not gonna lie, the first 6 to 8 months were rough. I always had clammy hands. I had night sweats. I would have nightmares almost every night. And I never thought that I was gonna get better. I just thought that I was gonna have to live like this forever. But I'm slowly tapering down on the Suboxone. They had me started off on 24 milligrams a day. Right now I've got myself down to 8 milligrams a day on Suboxone. They've got me on some good anxiety medication. They have me on a couple other medications for mood stabilization and everything. And all of this has really helped me so much. But the only thing that really did help get me clean was cutting the people in my life out that were not benefiting me in any way. I guess that's one of the main key points. If you can't geometrically get out of your situation, you have to just cut people out of your life that are toxic to you and that do not have your best interests in heart. But I just really want people to know out there that even at a young age, like myself, I just turned 22 a couple weeks ago. And I caught it early, and you can catch it earlier than I did. If you realize you have a problem, the first step is admitting you have a problem, and then just going from there, embracing it and admitting it and trying to get all the help that you can. If you can't afford a private rehab facility, try to do anything you can. I know I said that I don't personally agree with meetings, but that's just me. If you can't afford rehab, start going to AA meetings, start going to CA meetings, start going to NA meetings, Smart Recovery. There's so many support groups. And there's also a lot of support groups for your family and friends that are very good for them too. They're called Al-Anon, and you can look up any of these meetings online. And find them in your area. There are literally meetings anywhere you go. So say you go on vacation, you can always find a meeting. But for me, it was more just mental determination to mend the relationships with my family and with my friends that were there to support me. Because once I had gotten onto the hard drugs and I was completely strung out, I had lost all my friends, I had lost my family, I had been kicked out of my house multiple times, relationships were not working, and nothing was really working. So just getting help is the best option that you have. This isn't 1980 anymore, where you have to be this manly man and just handle everything by yourself, because there's just some things you can't do by yourself. But there are so many resources out there that will help you for free. If you go into the ER, they have to help you. So if you are going through, say, heroin withdrawals, cocaine, any drug really, there is detoxes, like 7-day detoxes that they'll admit you into, and then hopefully from there you can get yourself into a rehab program. I really recommend, if you can't afford the rehab, making a GoFundMe page on Facebook if you've got a good social network. People will donate, and they will help you try to get clean. I had a lot of people donate for me to help get into the facility that I got into. I'm lucky that I have good insurance, so it covered most of it. But at the end of the day, it's all just a mindset that you really have to force yourself into. You have to change every single aspect of your life. And it's just so hard to break out of that shell of waking up and thinking, oh, I need to find a way to get money today so I can get my drugs today, and then finish the night with my drugs, and then do it all over again the next day. That's what we call the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if you keep going to rehab and you keep coming out and relapsing, that is what we call insanity. So you really have to look at what you're doing and change what you have not changed yet. for me, I just cut off everyone. I only associate with a few people now, and my life has gotten a lot better. I know that I'm in legal trouble, and I know that I don't have a license, but without all of that, with all of that, it doesn't even matter, because my life has gotten just astronomically better in the last year. Being sober for a year now, it just feels amazing compared to how I was living before. I would have panic attacks and breakdowns every day, especially if I couldn't get the drugs, and I would get physically ill. My mental game would be all over the place, and it's just so beneficial to look in the mirror and just really figure out the help you need, and just admitting that you need the help and reaching out to friends and family. And if you don't have the friends and family to reach out to, then call the National Addiction Hotline and talk to somebody there. There's always a way that you can get help if you want it. And I just really would love to help anybody that needs it. And that's basically my goal now, because I'm so young, and I guess technically my brain's not even fully developed yet. I'm only 22, and the male brain doesn't develop till it's 25, so I guess I'm lucky that I caught it before then, so I can still develop, and I can still have a future, and I can still move on with my life. But even if you're past 25, you can still make it past it, and you can still make something of yourself. You just have to have that self-determination to get past it, and just stop thinking that you need a substance to get you through every day. It's extremely tough. It's the hardest battle you'll ever fight, but I promise, once you start the fight, and once you get a few months in, you're gonna feel so proud of yourself that you won't want to use again, and it gets to the point where you don't even think about using anymore. So I guess that's just my 2 cents and a little bit of my story. I could have gone way more in depth of, like my day-to-day life, but I just wanted to give you guys a little summary and how I got to sobriety, and how everything just ended up not working out in my favor, but just the work that I put in, and just how I ended up here, being happy, having a bank account finally, not looking for $10 just to get a bag to get me through the day. I mean, that was just a lifestyle that I couldn't handle anymore, and I know a lot of people can't handle that kind of lifestyle at all. And so just reach out, talk to your loved ones, talk to close people, and just please try to help with the epidemic. There's overdose after overdose after overdose. I've personally lost 5 friends this year, and each one, it just leaves this cold rock in my stomach, and it eats me alive that there's nothing that I could have done to help them. It's a horrible feeling losing a close friend. And no one wants to lose their friends, especially at our age. I mean, we're only maybe a quarter of the way through our lives, and we're not supposed to be dying at this age. So if you guys need any tips or any help or just any guidance, I am more than willing to reach out or reach out to me. You can message me on Instagram. You can comment on this video. You can do anything. to get in contact with me, I'll leave links in the description of this video on YouTube, and I'll probably post this on Facebook too. But just please, if you're in that state of mind and you're using constantly, just please try to get out of it, and you just don't need it. It's not good for you, it's not good for anyone around you, and it's not going to help you in the long run whatsoever. You're just putting a band-aid over your problems, and you have to get to the core of why you're using in the first place. And once I figured out why I was using, and once I figured out what I was trying to numb, and through all the counseling and everything, I realized that I don't need to use to get past all of that. I just needed to really talk to somebody, and it made my life so much better. But yeah, I mean, that's about it for this. But if you guys do need help, I've got links and I've got phone numbers. I'll give out my phone number if you direct message me, or if you comment. We can get in contact. I'll set up a Kick, or I'll set up a WhatsApp, or I'll set up anything to get in contact with you guys. I can do a Patreon or anything. Just to get in contact if you just need advice, if you're stuck, or if you just want, if you have some questions on how to just get the process started. I know that some people think that when they get 30 days sober, that's nothing, but that's a huge milestone for some people, or that's a huge milestone in general. And then 60 days, and then 90 days, and then 120 days. I mean, the months add up, and then all of a sudden you've got years of clean time. And I know that I can't speak too much because I've only got a year of sobriety under my belt. But once again, I'm only 22 years old, and I feel like I've come so far since using all of these drugs on a daily basis. So I guess I'm gonna end the video here. Once again, just please reach out if you're struggling, and share this video. Try to get it to as many people that are struggling as you can, and I'm really here to help anyone that needs it. So thanks for listening to my story, and I really hope you guys have a great rest of your evening or your morning or whatever time it is where you are. But just please reach out. There's always someone there willing to help, especially me. Thank you.